This video is going to focus on the evidence for human evolution. It's going to have a look at the evidence that we get from fossils and the evidence that we get from stone tools and how that all leads together to prove that evolution did occur. The use of fossils then has helped us to prove that chimpanzees and humans both evolved from a common ancestor. The name of these ancestors are called hominids. Now, the earliest record of a fossil hominid that we have is something that's been named Ardi. Ardi is a fossil that is 4.4 million years old. It is from the species Ardipithecus ramidus, and the fossil suggests that it has features of both humans and apes. So the first feature that she had was the feet. Now, the structure of the feet suggested that it climbed trees. She had a big ape-like toe to grasp the branches. She also had long arms and short legs, which showed that she was much more like an ape than a modern-day human. The brain size was about the same size as a chimpanzee, but also the leg structure suggested that she walked upright, much more like a human than an ape. The structure of her hand bones suggested that she didn't use her hands to help her walk like apes do. The second oldest fossil that we have about hominids is called Lucy, and this is a fossil that is 3.2 million years old, and it has the species name Australopithecus afarensis. Now, this species has similar features, so it's both part ape, part human, but it's much more human-like than Ardi was. So the first key change then was that Lucy had arched feet. Now, these arched feet made her more adapted to walking than climbing, and she also had no ape-like big toe. The size of her arms and legs were somewhere in between what you'd expect to find in apes and humans, so about halfway in between. This showed that Lucy had evolved more towards the human side than Ardi was, and was much further away from the ape side. The brain was slightly larger than Ardi's, but still similar in size to a chimp's brain. And finally, the structure of the leg bones and feet suggested that she walked upright, which was much more efficient than Ardi. Okay, the final set of fossils that you need to know about were found by someone called Richard Leakey and his team, and they were found for fossils that were about 1.6 million years old. One of the most important finds was a Turkana Boy. Now, he's a fossil skeleton that was found of the species Homo Erectus, which, as I said, was about 1.6 million years old. He has also got a mixture of human and ape-like features, but again much more human-like than Lucy. Now, one of his key features was the fact that he had both short arms and long legs, and this obviously resembles much more like a human than an ape. The brain size was much larger than Lucy's, and in this case similar to a human-sized brain. And last but not least, again, the structure of the legs and feet were much more like humans, showing he was even more adapted to walking upright than Lucy was. So this can all be put into a timeline then, to show how humans have evolved. It shows that from fossil evidence that the Arthropithecus species is one of the oldest, where Ardi was discovered, then the Australopithecus species, and then that overlaps into the Homo species, which includes ourselves. Okay, so we've had a look at how fossils can be used to prove evolution. We're now going to have a look at how the development of stone tools does the same. Some of the earliest tool use has been recorded by the Homo habilis species, which was about 2.5 to 1.5 million years ago. Now, they made simple stone tools called pebble tools, just by hitting rocks together to make sharp flakes. These could then be used to scrape meat from bones or to crack bones open. Then we have the Homo erectus, which lived between 2 million to 0.3 million years ago. They sculpted rocks into shapes which made more complex tools like hand axes, and these could be used to hunt animals, dig down, or to chop and scrape meat again. The next set of tools was created by the Homo Neanderthalensis, and that was between 300,000 and 25,000 years ago. These are much more complex, so they had flint tools and pointed tools and wooden spears. And then finally, Homo sapiens, some of the earliest tools we've got from our species is 200,000 years ago to present day. Now, they still use flint tools, pointed tools including arrowheads, fish hooks, buttons and needles, and so on. Now, these started appearing about 50,000 years ago, showing that the human race is a lot more advanced. Scientists know just how old these tools are by using 3 different ways. The first one is stratigraphy, which is the study of rock layers. So older rock layers are found lower down than younger layers, so they can use that to predate things. They could also compare it to the fossils found around that time, so if they knew how old the fossils were, they could date it based on that. And then they could use carbon-14 dating to date any material found with it that's made from carbon, for example the wood handle. The final piece of evidence then that proves human evolution is from mitochondrial DNA. So mitochondria have small pieces of DNA in them, which is separate from the DNA in the nucleus. Now this mitochondrial DNA is only inherited from the mother. This means it's not mixed with the DNA from the father at all. So scientists will use this mitochondrial DNA to study human evolution. The key being, the more different two DNA samples are, the further back they share a common ancestor. Now it turns out that everyone on the planet has a similar type of mitochondrial DNA, and this all links back to one person who is nicknamed the Mitochondrial Eve. Now some bits of mitochondrial DNA vary from person to person. Now this is due to something called mutations. Now those mutations occur quite a lot, and showing it has a high mutation rate. So scientists have studied these mutations and have worked out that Mitochondrial Eve was an African woman who lived about 200,000 years ago, and also has the nickname African Eve. So humans originated in Africa and then migrated away, which you'll have a look at in the next video.